Hey, it's Travis. Too many camp directors run just on gut feel. Our free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic is your dashboard for resilience. Take it today at camp.mba/Travis. Again, that's camp.mba/Travis. What is the best life advice you give your young adult staff?
This is CampHacker. Come find our show notes and our blog for camp directors and leaders at camphacker.tv.
This episode of the CampHacker podcast is brought to you by UltraCamp. Wouldn't it be refreshing if your registration software gave you more time? With UltraCamp, you can track attendance, manage staff applications, streamline registration, and much more. Get back the time you need to focus on what's really important, camp. Find out more at summercampsoftware.com/camphacker. Crazy Creek Products is proud to support the CampHacker podcast. They've been perfecting the just sit there mentality for campers since 1987. Come see them at the Tri-State and New England ACA shows in March, or call 800-446-3446, or find them online at crazycreek.com.
Hello, Camp Mavericks, and welcome to the CampHacker podcast. My name is Travis. I am a summer camp marketing and strategy consultant, and I help camps translate what they do so that more families insist on sending their children to summer camp.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Hudson. I live in New York City, and I am the camp director of Camp Highlight, the best sleepaway camp for kids who have LGBTQ parents.
Awesome. And my name is Gabrielle Rail. I'm one of the camp directors at Camp Waro, which is an all-girls camp in the Laurentian Mountains of Quebec, Canada. And we focus on creating a positive environment for gender minorities.
My name is Joe Richards. I'm the executive director at Pierce Williams Summer Camp and Retreat Facility in Fingal, Ontario. And we are part of the United Church of Canada's camping network.
Welcome, everybody. If you are more of a listener than a viewer on YouTube, I would encourage you to go check out this show, the best life advice, just so you can see Chris sporting his new Camp Waro toque. I
love it. I love it. I wear it all the time.
It's good.
It's the perfect hat. I love it.
It is. It's great to be here with you all. We're excited today. If you are a fan of the show and you've got some good stuff out of this, we'd be super grateful if you went to ratethispodcast.com/camp and then click the rating and reviews button and let people know what you've got out of this particular CampHacker episode or stuff you've been listening to. Really, just take a screenshot, text it to a friend if this is an episode that you think would be helpful to them. Today, as I say, we're going to talk about life advice. We're going to take off our looking after kids camp director hats and focus more on caring for our staff outside of and after their experience working for us in the summer or working year-round from us when they're young. And think about things that we hope that they take into the world from their camp experiences, from other stuff, just from people having sat down and asked us for advice on different things. Joe, I wonder for you if there's some particular theme or idea that people come to you for, or is it more kind of a general, just things that you think about that you think are important?
I think when people come to me, they often, like in that moment, not just in general, like when I can give them a life lesson out in the camp world, when people come to me, what they're looking for is how to think differently, right? Like how,
that makes sense.
How do you not? So one of my biggest pieces of life advice I share with people is stop caring what other people think about you. And the earlier you can do that, the better your entire life will be, because chances are they aren't even thinking about you, right? Like chances are you're playing a game in your head. And I'm not sure when I came to fully understand and embrace that idea. But I think that lots of people see me as someone who just doesn't care about what other people think. And I will just do whatever I want to do. Whatever is in, people who know me know that I do what is in the best interest of my facility, my camp. And at camp, it's what's in the best interest of the campers. As a young camp director, it's really easy to get caught up in this idea that you need to make everyone happy. And that is not at all the case. Your job in life
At all possible.
is not to make people happy.
Mm-hmm.
Your job in life is to affect. In my mantra is affect positive change where one can. Right. So that's my job in life, is to affect positive change. And if that means you're going to be unhappy in the short term, then so be it. But my hope is that, so when they come to me, they're often trying to figure out how I've gotten to this point on the journey. And what I often try and think is, how can I help you find a shortcut to get to this place on your journey so that you can move forward from there?
Right. Chris, for you, are there any particular themes or ideas that people come to you for, or patterns of struggles that you see?
Man, I could just do this whole episode by myself. Honestly, God, I feel like I'm just going to say this. I'm going to sound like a fuddy-duddy. I cannot believe I was this naive when I was 19, 20, 21, 22. I just can't believe it. There's little things. You know what comes up a lot for us? I have so much to say on this, but what comes up a lot for us is, oh my gosh, I want to do Camp Highlight, but I just got a job and I've got to figure out how to ask for the time off. And I was like, you just say that you need the time. End of story. You know what I mean? Just tell me, oh, this is a commitment that I had. Like, people will either understand. If they don't understand, maybe that's not the job for you. Maybe you don't want to be there.
Gab, how about for you? Any particular themes or ideas?
When we talked about this, I created a list, and mine was when somebody's pumping the gas, you should offer to wipe the windshields. Yeah. Yep. And so I was like, here are my points. But for me, I remember being in the car with, I was head of tripping for Waro, and there was the head of the CIT program, and we were in a van with a bunch of CITs, and we stopped at a gas station, going on our canoe trip, obviously. And she said, okay, it's lesson, helpful human lesson, tip number, whatever. Mm-hmm. So she was doing these helpful human lessons throughout the summer. And so when we stop at a gas station, when somebody's pumping the gas, it's always nice for somebody else to get out and wipe down the windshields. Yeah. And then she taught everybody how to do it. And I was like, oh, wow, that is amazing. Like these helpful human tips. And one of the things that we talked about, Chantal Wade, I'll name her because, she taught me a lot of great things, was that she said that she finds that when she was younger, she was quite an anxious individual, and she needed people to give her permission to help. And she always wanted to help, but she needed that permission. So her goal is to teach them that they have permission to help. She's just trying to show them where that permission is. And I think at camp that happens often, where people do want to help out, but they don't know in what capacity, and just teaching them these little areas where they can help out is wonderful. So it's about showing that. So I like the helpful human tips, or giving people the permission to help.
Yeah. And I think just in terms of themes, or I suppose it's themes I like from each of us, these are themes that we're attracted to or that we found helpful. I think that one of the best pieces of advice or things that have come to me in a number of times is kind of around noticing skills. How do you see those things? And I think that's partly growing up on a farm and having to see problems and solve them yourself. I think it's figure out things on your own. I think it's just the way my brain works. And, finding out as a young adult that I wasn't, as much as I'm a very social person, I'm not a very sensitive person. And so I had to figure out how to see the things that people needed me to be sensitive about. And so I think that's some of the themes. How are you observant about how people are feeling or acting or problems? And I think that some of those have been the things that have helped me make whatever difference I've made in the world, have been from me seeing problems and just solving them. But it's just the awareness is the first part of it. So
that's a huge one, Travis, just to tack onto it. The idea of, one of the things I do teach this to camp staff, but I want them to use it when they have kids, if they choose to have kids, is the difference between saying watch out and pay attention, right? Because pay attention gets us to a very different place. So when when a kid reaches for a hot stove, right, oftentimes a parent will say, watch out. Or if they're too close to the curb, they'll say, watch out, versus very calmly saying, as Jen and I have, my wife of 21 years, 22 years, have said, right, just pay attention, right? Like, okay, well, let's pay attention, look around. And that goes to the growing up on a farm. And one of the things we teach to kids is this idea of, or I teach to staff who are going to deal with any equipment, is this idea of, does it sound different? Right? Listen for when it sounds different, because if the tractor all of a sudden changes the sound, something changed, right? And that's the same concept. So pay attention. What's different? Do we need to deal with it? But watch out versus pay attention is something I certainly teach our staff, and I wish I had learned earlier.
Yeah. Yep.
The thing that I always try and pass on to people is what relevance is. Yeah. Relevance is the Venn diagram of what you want to say and what they want to hear. Yes. The thing in the middle is relevance. Right. And that escapes young people constantly. They're the main character on their own show, and they never stop to think, like, what am I trying to get? What does the other person need to hear from me right now? We go over that in training. Yeah. And then we remind them of it non-passive aggressively. Like, is this relevant right now? Like right now, you want to say it, but do I need to hear it?
Right. Right. So any other big themey kind of things, Gabs?
I think the sort of crossroads that I've seen my staff hitting a lot is what to do after school. And there's sort of this anxiety when somebody graduates or might be going on to a master's program or a doctorate or et cetera, but that they need to follow that September timeline. Like, I need a job. I graduated from school in May. Now I'm working at camp and I need a job in September. And I often ask why. I mean, yes, you need finances, but they're like, I need to get into my career then. But why? And is that when job interviews all start, is in September? And there's this, I think it's a sort of part of the school system where you're just used to, like, September, you're starting something new. Yeah. I think there's anxiety amongst parents about what's going to be your real job. Now you have to get into it. And the sort of that pressure and sort of just talking to them about that life is your own timeline. And you do have to feel it out, and you're going to start to need to absolutely take your parents' ideas into account because they care about you, hopefully, but also you have to tap into what you want. And that is so scary for a lot of them. They're like, but this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I should do. But why? I think that goes back to what Joe is talking about, not caring what other people think. It's really about connecting to what you need or what your community needs. And, not listening to me, not listening to your folks, like actually genuinely trying to tap into what fits you at that time in your life.
What's really fascinating is that young people do not have any conception of time, right? So if you're 23, 10 years ago, you were a child. That's really different from being 43 when 10 years ago, you were like a fully functioning adult paying taxes. Like, I teach at Columbia University, and sometimes the young people come to me and be like, okay, I want to get my master's in law. I want to get it in social work, and I'm looking to get a third one concurrently. And I'm like, what is your rush? It's like what you're saying, Gabs. Like, what's the rush? Like, I'm like, okay, you want to get a degree in social work? Do that. You want to get a degree in law? Do that. I don't know why it has to be at the same time. Like, you're 25. You have the rest of your life to do this. But I think, and there's studies on this. I read a fascinating book about this, which I will not recommend. But young people, by a lot, like their brain, they cannot hold this idea of time. So if you're 23, 10 years from now feels like an impossible distance away, because 10 years ago, you were in a different body. Like, you were just completely different. So it's something to consider, actually, when we're working with young people. We think about, when we challenge them with that, it's very difficult for them to conceptualize it.
Well, there's pressures too on the outside also there's pressures of you need to get this done now, you need to do this now. There are those external pressures as well, we expect young individuals to show up at a certain time, go to school at this time, come home at this time, be part of the sports. It's all these expectations, and then all of a sudden it's like, now you get to choose. That can be very overwhelming. But I think maybe my brain hasn't matured because my concept of time also has not fully developed in my head. But I do like that awareness that we should have about the staff that are working with us.
Time pops up at camp because people often use the phrase, we've always done it this way. Mm-hmm. And that's right. One of the things I teach young people, always is a part of perspective, right? Mm-hmm. And what Chris was saying makes huge sense, because at my age, in my late 40s, looking forward 10 years is much easier right now to say, oh, in 10 years, my wife is retired, right? Like, I'm like, oh, so I need to have a plan for this portion of my life. So time's a fascinating subject.
Crazy Creek chairs and products have been perfecting the Just Sit There brand for campers and staff alike since 1987. With new colors in stock for 2022, reach out to Crazy Creek today for summer 2022 season specials. Mention this ad when you email or call in and receive 10% off your entire order and free single color logo on your Crazy Creeks. No tool is more vital at camp than a Crazy Creek chair. Call 1-800-446-3446 or email chill@crazycreek.com to guarantee your chairs for the 2022 season. Did you know Crazy Creeks are given to campers that check in at over 500 camps in the U.S.? Great camps like Philmont and Kanakuk include the chair in the camper's registration price and package. Add a free logo on the back and your camp name will stay with the campers for life. No one throws away a Crazy Creek. I think one element of what you put in there, or what you're saying, Gabs, is that you can insulate yourself from others' opinions, including your parents, without, like, you're not stopping loving somebody by insulating yourself from their opinion. So, there are parental pressures, and frankly, parents are just used to putting pressure on their kids. Like, they're used to try to shepherd them through things, and it's hard for parents. Every camp director knows it's hard for parents to let go. But you have to, begin the practice of, I can listen to you and not do the thing you said, and that doesn't mean that I don't love you. And
the anxiety I see from just that statement right there from some of my staff members, and that's like boundaries and et cetera, et cetera. But I think hearing it at this age, it helps them for when they're 27 to start putting those boundaries for some of them that are having a hard time, but having those. And I think it's a sign of caring for your staff members, having those conversations, because what you're interested, my interest is their happiness, and I'm not suggesting nobody else's interest is in that, but being able to have that stepping away, not having an expectation of what they're going to do for their life, not having that expectation of what career they're going to take or what family direction they might choose, but truly just saying, like, you're an amazing individual. What do you want to do? And is jumping into a career in September really something that you're excited about genuinely, Maybe not. Maybe you want to start that in January and you take these couple of months off, So, but there's like a little panic, but I think allowing that panic to go somewhere is really helpful as well, to have it with another adult that's gone through it and say it's okay. Like, I've had teachers that were like that with me when I was in college that posed those questions to me. I remember in a class, we were 18, 19 years old, and he was such a cool teacher. Anthropology teachers I find very quirky. He was not exception to the rule. He was super quirky. And there was a couple of guys in the back of the room that kept chit-chatting. And he paused and he was so kind, not at all aggressive. And he said, "Oh, why are you here?" And it was just like this random, like, open-ended statement. And he said, at this time in your life, it's proven that it would be best if you just traveled the world and then came back when you're 25 to learn. So, like, why are you here if you don't want to be here? And it was the first time an adult had said that to me, like, I knew he was obviously talking to the guys in the back of the room, but for me, I was like, oh, I actually get to choose to be here. Like, this is my choice. And mate school actually is so much more helpful and pleasant, because every morning I woke up saying, you know, as I wiped the tears from my face, I'm choosing to do school today. Like, that's something I'm choosing to do.
I think that goes back to what I was started out with about like the job thing, is the asserting the fact that you are an adult and you get to choose what's right for you and what's not right for you. You should let people know how you feel. Fine. This generation does that all the time. How you feel, but also like what you need. And I think that's really important for young people, because in that transition from being like a young person to a young adult to an adult, there's not a lot of instruction about how to adult. It's like you're in college, you're in high school, right, where everything is decided for you, most people. Then you're off to college where you have a little freedom. And then you're sort of thrown into it. And you're supposed to do what you've seen other people doing, but you've never had any instruction about it. And so then you get to things like, I saw a tweet the other day. It said something like, damn, people be 30 and still be talking in class. What the? It's true. Like, you don't have to be here. Like, you don't have to come to this. And there's no judgment about that. The other thing that I always try and tell the young people is that me talking to you, giving you feedback, does not mean you're in trouble, which is something that young people experience their entire life. Like, I can talk about you. I can talk about the way that you present. I could talk about the way that you impact me, but we're still cool because this has nothing to do with our relationship. Do you know what I mean? We're working together. I need you to know how you're coming off. And, you know, if you don't like what I'm saying, let's talk about that, you know, in the realm of it being feedback. Do you think it's wrong? You know, read the book that I recommended last episode. Thanks for the feedback, but it's all in there. But like, that's something I always try to give to young people because they're too defensive. My staff, they're too defensive when I want to talk to them about their work. And then it's like a full 15 minutes calming them down so they can see what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Interesting. This conversation is like Gab. I did a whole list, right, of stuff when we decided this was a topic, but the list only grows as you hear other people talk. Right.
Sure.
So I write down the points they have, but I'm like, oh, well, yeah, you need to live life for you, not someone else's vision of you. And this is where parents fail us many times, right? Is that they have a vision for us because sometimes those parents didn't live their life and they're hoping that you can live the life they can live vicariously through you. And then also the idea of life of learning, right? You're never going to get to the destination you think you want to be at. It's all about the journey. Like, there is no end point where you're going to be perfectly happy for the next 30 years of your life. You need right? It's all about the journey and the learning and continual learning to get there. And I think that whether you're 18 and you think you need to start a career at 20, the answer is not really. The answer is you need to be comfortable with yourself, right? You need to, determine what you want life to be and then make it happen. Or as the Avett brothers say, decide what to be and go be it. Right. So, yeah.
So let's get through these lists. You've taken the time to make them. Let's do that. If we'll kind of go in the circle, and if somebody has a comment on the previous thing, let me know. If not, I'll just sort of call you out as we go. I'm going to start with one of the pieces of advice that I am most passionate about, and I would encourage you to think about it the same way. One of the things I'm most passionate about is talking especially to senior campers and young staff who are in high school. My biggest piece of advice is take a GED gap year. Do not go to college after high school. I'm a big fan of don't go to college at all. I did.
I was just going to say that, or just don't go.
Yeah, I met some wonderful people, and I'm grateful that I went. But take the year, take 2 years. It's a lot of friggin' money. It's so much money just to spend money for 2 years to figure stuff out. And by your fourth year, you're like, oh, this is what I really wanted to do. And then you have to do 3 more. Take the time and travel. Please, for the love of everything, get out of where you are. Go places. Doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be far. It just has to be not where you grew up. Joe, you had a thought?
As a Canadian, I would say make sure you travel Canada, right? Make sure you get to know, because too many people determine that they're going to go somewhere else in the world to learn, and there's so much to learn here, and it's much less expensive to learn here than to travel to somewhere else. But yeah, see your own country to help you know what makes them tick.
Yep, that's good. Gabs, your advice?
The
one you're passionate about?
What I'm passionate about is my campers and staff members using I statements. I feel, and owning their experiences, and not that you need a whole other group to have the same experience for your experience to be validated. And particularly, I find with working with primarily girls and women, this is something that is really, really difficult for them to hold on to. And it's such a process. I find I'm teaching it to them through when they're campers, and then actually it's starting to sink in when they're staff members. And even more so, I have staff members that have called me where they're no longer staff members with me and are having issues in the workplaces that they're in, and primarily with men. And we go back to I statements, and it's just like, this is my experience. This is how and it's shaky ground for them, because it's so new, and it's a difficult process. So I'm very passionate about I statements, so that they're connecting to their experiences, and those experiences are valid.
Good one. I love that. Christopher?
Building on that, how could I say this?
Do it. Don't make that face to say it.
Not everything's about you. Do you know what I mean? Like you are one of many people here. Not everything is about you. Taking things personally is really going to be to your detriment, because while you're busy there licking your imagined wounds, like there's information being delivered. That's always my thing. Like when I was a young person, I think I mentioned this on this podcast before. When I was a young person, I loved to overhear people talking about me, good or bad. Mm-hmm. It was information I didn't have, and it took me out of my head, right? Because in my head, I can't see myself. And so that's always my thing, is like, stop, listen, and really sort of like have an observing eye. And it's hard for young people, I know, because it's developing as their brain develops, but have an observing eye, because you're going to miss information. You're going to miss something that's really critical, because if I say something to you and you're like, oh, Chris hates me, you're missing everything. Like, I don't have to like you. That's the other thing. This is controversial. I tell my kids this too. This comes up at camp with our young people all the time, where it's like, I want to be friends with so-and-so, but they don't want to be friends with me. Are they rude to you? No. Are they mean to you? No. Are they excluding you? No. Well, okay. Everyone doesn't have to be friends. We just have to be friendly. That's really hard to learn when you're a kid. And it's really hard for like my staff to understand. My staff, they come and it's a kumbaya, Shangri-La moment, and they all think they're going to be best friends. It's like, no, you guys are coworkers who are very, very friendly, and there's a lot of love here, but you don't have to connect individually with every single person that you meet in this context. And don't try to. Like, that's not the point. The point is that we're just trying to work together as a machine. So that's the thing I always want to get across. And like, some years are better than others, and some staff is better than others, but it's like, listen, you've got to have an observing eye around yourself.
And if I can pick up that thread, Chris, one of the lessons that helped me stop projecting on people, like putting an emotion on them that wasn't necessarily that I couldn't know if it was there, was a story that Tim Ferriss, the podcaster and writer, told, and I forget his exact wording of it, but I remember how it slid into place for me. Partly effectively, and Seth Godin talks about this, there's the idea of sonder. It's the realization that there's a whole life and whole emotions going on in another person that are not related to you. So you may be seeing them do things and thinking that they hate you, they're mad at you, they love you, whatever. But there's just stuff going on. And it's coming to the realization that other people have real and logical reasons why they believe the things that they do, and that's their logic. My concrete example was a neighbor. I grew up in a small town. I'm a very neat, like I am the guy who's spending a couple of hours blowing snow on my elderly neighbor's driveway because I believe that that's what neighbors do. Our next door neighbor, when I moved into this neighborhood, wouldn't say hello. Like we shared a fence, wouldn't say hello, would just work in his backyard, wouldn't, none of those things. And so in my head, I'm just building up to, he's just such a jerk. Like he won't even look at me. Like I'm not going to go out of my way if he's not comfortable with that. But, a wave to your neighbor is a minimum thing to me. It's a very minimum thing to my experience. When I stopped thinking this guy's such a jerk, and I thought to myself, what if he's incredibly shy? Then me being, the waving, hello, neighbor, how are you, neighbor, is the worst possible thing for this guy. And if he's incredibly shy, then I see his actions through a different thing, a different lens. And that means that I can, stop putting my expectations on him. I don't know why. It's like me getting mad at neighbors who don't shovel their driveways because it's hard for me to walk my dog when there's tons of snow. I don't know why they don't shovel their driveway. There's no sense in me getting mad. There's likely a very logical reason why they don't. And me being a jerk about it doesn't. Anyway, that's one of my things. Joe, what's your favorite piece of advice that you haven't given yet?
That I haven't given yet is spend time alone. Learn how to be comfortable with yourself. You're going to spend a good majority of your life by yourself. And if you're not comfortable with your own self and your mind and your thoughts and who you are, you're going to have a hard life, because all of these things we're telling you, you can put on yourself as well, and you shouldn't, right? But to spend time alone, be comfortable being by yourself. I am never lonely, right? Like loneliness is not something that occurs to me. And I'm never bored. It just doesn't occur to me. And I'm not sure if it's because I'm a middle child of 5 kids and I was just left to my own devices on a 1,000-acre farm growing up, right? Like, or if I've just slowly learned that what you say to yourself when you're by yourself is the most powerful thing that you're going to hear, right? The way you talk to yourself, and so you have to be comfortable spending time alone.
I want to challenge that though. Like, I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I saw a play once. It was called The Doll's House 2. And one of the characters said it was a woman in Scandinavia in like the 1800s. And she said, I had to move away deep into the forest to get away from all the sound so I could finally hear my own voice. I love that line. The thing though, Joe, is that like young people today are not like, the environment is so different. Being alone for them, I think, means something different. I think giving a young person that advice, I don't know if they could even receive it, because it was possible to be alone. I remember in college, I used to have days where I'm like, don't touch a computer all day, right? That was possible in the 90s. It's not anymore. It's not really possible to be disconnected from other people because the way that our phones and our lives work, if you are disconnected from other people, you're disconnected from work, you're disconnected from all sorts of communication networks that may keep you safe, that you can use to keep other people safe, et cetera, et cetera. It's interesting. I'm thinking about how to tailor that message for like Gen Z today. Because I don't think if you just sat down with him and been like, listen, you got to spend some time alone, I think they'll be like, yeah, work. Okay, I'm going to go to my room. I'm going to have my phone. You know what I mean? Like, I think what is the lesson there?
I'm not telling them to spend time alone. I'm telling them you need to learn to be comfortable when you're alone, right? And
what does alone mean is my question. Like, how could you communicate to a young person what alone? Because alone, I think young people hear alone and be like, oh no, I take Saturday and I stay in my house, and I watch Netflix and I chat with my friends. Like, what does alone mean? Alone
can mean many things. Alone can mean when you're sitting on the toilet and you don't have a phone or a book to read, right? Anytime you're in your own head, you're alone, right? And you can be alone in a room of 5,000 other people. And I have been, right? You go to a conference, you don't know anyone, and you choose a chair for a keynote. And although you're with 5,000 people and people perceive that you're with them, you're not really with them. And I think that in the morning when you wake up first thing and you haven't touched a device on your bedside table and your eyes are just opening, you're by yourself. And what you tell yourself in that moment can make or break your entire day, right? How comfortable you are to do these things. And I think that it applies to any generation. I think the idea to separate spending time alone and learn to be comfortable with yourself might be what I meant to say at the beginning of this versus disconnect. I'm not saying that at all. Are we too connected in our lives? Yes. Yes. We could argue, yes, we are. Are we, and has that changed society? For sure it has. Am I telling you to be unsafe by leaving your phone and going on a 10-hour hike into the mountains? No. Right? I'm telling you that even in the 5 seconds it takes you to go somewhere, right? And trust me, I don't get this one right. Although I'm comfortable being alone, I find silence oppressing. And so I'll always turn on a radio. I'll always do these things. But I also find being in a city full of millions of people, like in New York or a Toronto or a Montreal, right? I find that overwhelming because my mind wonders what everybody else is wondering, right? Like my mind tells the stories. If I'm on a subway and I see 50 people, my mind is trying to tell me 50 stories about 50 people. And so living in the country for me is like the ideal, and I get it. Yeah.
Gab, what's your next piece?
For me, it's start now. You know, I remember somebody coming to camp and had this amazing camera, and I was like, I'll never know how to do that, like what they're doing and learning about f-stops. And then, you know, fast forward 10 years is a blink, and I can fully use that piece of equipment. And that individual who was awesome at that time pretty much stopped a year later. And so I was far beyond that individual. But in my own head at the time, I was like, oh, it's too late for me to start. Like, it's just too late for me to start. And so just trying to help our staff members get connected to what they're excited about and just start, like, do it. If you think you're too old to start rock climbing or whatever that might be, you're not. Like Joe said, it's a journey, and you'll be amazed how time does fly, and how if you start, that time is going to be such a great aid to you, and you'll be in a level that's kind of really neat and exciting, and it's a hobby that you can fall back on and that you enjoy. So just start now. It's not too late.
Beauty. My 30-second piece of advice: buy a plunger.
Yeah.
Chris?
Okay. Okay. I have to follow that.
Seconds. That wasn't 30 seconds.
I know it was 3 seconds.
My 3-second piece of advice.
Yeah, it's my 3-word piece of advice. This is the thing, like how to spot a toxic relationship. I think talk about something that slows you down in life and you get nothing out of it. And we do this, we actually do this like very goal directedly with our 13 to 15 year olds. When we talk about relationships with them, you know, and have them understand, listen, all of us got our ideas about how to be in a romantic relationship from watching TV, you know, unless your parents were like very lovey-dovey, right? Most of us grew up in households. Well, some of us grew up in households with parents who were partners. You know what I mean? Like they worked together to raise these children. You know, all the romance part was before you showed up. So like a lot of young people don't understand this. And we do this with our campers where it's like, if you are fighting with someone after meeting them, like, or going on a date with them, if you're fighting within the first 3 dates, this is not it. You're not supposed to fight with people you're getting to know like that. You have nothing to fight about. You don't know anything about each other, you know, and with the young people, like, listen, I'll sit with them and I'll listen to them tell, like, God, young people can tell tales in their early 20s, like sagas and dramas, like about like, then this, and then she said this to me and I said this to her, but then I called her friend. And I was like, you know what? This is a lot of work for you. Why? What's the end game, you know? And like, so working with young people, I think about this, how I spend the periods off that they have, and they always want to come and sit with me. And like, because I'm always chilling in the director's cabin, that regaled with tales about their life, filled with all sorts of backstabbing stuff. I'm like, it doesn't have to be that way. It's a lot of energy for you to pour into other people who aren't worth it. So that's my piece.
Beauty. Next short piece, consume less and create more. No, you don't have to be good at creating stuff to create stuff, but make it a practice to create stuff. If you can ever get to the point where you're consuming less, and as we all know from 11 pushing 12 years of CampHacker, I'm always the one who's like, we have to have tools. I love tools. Give me more tools, more stuff to buy. So my constant working on consuming less, but create more is the most important piece of this, I think. Joe?
Fake it.
Yes.
We all are. Just in case you didn't know,
absolutely,
we are all faking it.
100%.
We're all pretending that we know what we're doing, and we're trying to get this stuff done.
Oh my
just
God, that's
fake
so
it.
True.
Fake it.
We should have started with that, Joe.
Yeah,
that
totally.
Just fake it.
Oh my God.
My whole
adulting, all of it.
20. Yeah. Like there are times, and it's funny because my Jen and I often, like, we look at each other and be like, we have kids, and our kids are like 19 and 17. We're like, we have kids. And there are times where I'm just like, I sit at my desk, this very desk, and I think to myself, all I need to do is hold on, right? Like because people think I know what I'm doing, and I'll just keep doing it. So fake it.
So sometimes I'll open up my email box and I look at it. I'm like, are these for me? Like, I can't, I don't know how to respond. These people want what from me? Oh my God. I will literally be typing. I know if you're listening, you can't see, but I'll be just like shaking my head. Like, I cannot believe this is me. Like, I have to respond to this. This seems so important. Who else? Just fake it. No, everyone. Oh my God. You're so right, Joe.
Dude, if you fake it well enough, like, and you do grant writing and people like give you hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you're just this was an idea I had in my sleep. I don't know. But hey, you know what? I'm going to make it come true because you just paid for it. That's awesome.
Not for nothing. Like, and I know that I talked about this on another podcast. Camp Highlight, talk about faking it. No idea what I was doing. None. Just every day woke up and be like, I guess we put an ad somewhere. Okay. I guess we go to a conference. Yeah. Everything. Like, you can do it. You just fake it. Everyone else is doing it. I think that's the thing. Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Nobody knows what they're doing. Just fake it.
Nobody knew what they were doing. Some people know what they're doing sometimes, but they often don't feel like they know what they're doing.
That's not very comforting. This doesn't feel very comforting anymore. No one knows what they're doing.
Think about that the next time you get on a plane.
I know.
They're just faking it, people.
An amazing spot to end things. An amazing place to end things. So thank you all for your sage wisdom. We invite people to reach out, Travis at gocamp.pro, to the best advice that you give. There may be a point at which we return to this and go for just the bullet point pieces of advice. We may just come back to it as best advice, because if we talked a lot about relationships, we talked a bit about jobs, we didn't talk about money, we didn't talk about education. We did, but we didn't talk enough about how our advice for educating yourselves, etc. So there's a lot to come back to. My call to action, listeners, write me, put in the subject line, advice for young adult staff, and give me your piece of advice, and we'll probably read it out on the next show that we talk about advice for our young staff. So that means it is time for us to take a little break and talk about our sponsor. We want to take a second and thank UltraCamp for their support of the CampHacker podcast. Exclusive to our listeners here on this show, you can discover 10 best marketing tools and tips for camps by visiting ultracampmanagement.com/CampHacker. There you can download their free guide, The Marketing Toolbox. When you feel like you just spend so much time in your office, you get it to a point where you feel like you can't leave. You feel guilty for leaving the office. The folks at UltraCamp know that feeling, and they know that you didn't get in here to spend time on your computer running reports on your database and stuff like that. They made this software to help camp professionals like yourself handle the registration, handle the queries quickly and efficiently, and get back to meeting the people, changing lives, focusing on the thing that brought you into this job. Pricing for them is transparent and flexible. It means you can rest easy and focus on the things that are important. Your campers, your staff, the change that you're making. UltraCamp has low minimum entry fee, clear pricing with no hidden costs, flexible payment terms, and no long-term contracts. UltraCamp's goal is to provide resources so that their clients can spend more time out of the office doing the thing, the passion that they rely on to do their job. If this all doesn't sound like your registration software, don't you think it should? Visit their website at ultracampmanagement.com/CampHacker and set up a time to chat. They look forward to meeting you. So we then move on to our tool of the week.
Tool of the week.
If you had this episode texted you from a friend and you're wondering about the tool of the week, we ask every panelist to come with something that makes them a better camp director. I don't know if it was because of this being our advice show, but there's a lot of non-tangible things, hold-on-able things in this week's tool of the week.
Still good, though. Still good.
Gab, I'm going to start with you, Gab, please.
Great. Mine's a multi-timer. It's free. It's for Apple products only. I know. I'm sure there's a sufficient Android version out there, but probably not as pretty. Anywho, it is what it is, what it says in the name. You have multiple timers. You can assign icons to it, Travis. So that's really cool. So your different timers can have different icons. You can choose what type of tone you want. And I'm using this for my morning routines, where I can really get sidetracked. And I have simple things such as feed the cats, make coffee, stretching, write down my top 3 things, but I've allocated times. And then there's like a little beautiful chime that's like, okay, your time is up. And now you can even put warning times as well. So they also have count ups. And if you pay, you can have it synced to other devices. So I think this could be really great for camps if you're playing a certain type of game and et cetera, et cetera. I'm loving it. I'm using it on my iPad and it's awesome.
Beauty. I'm going to put mine in. It's also, here's where we start to move into the non-tangibles. Mine is an article about a tangible thing. It's a Fast Company article called How to Use an Old Phone as a Security Camera. I have one of the tools of the week that I've talked about before is Wise cameras, those cheap home security cameras that you can get alerts on your phone. This allows you to take an old phone, one that maybe you just stopped using because the battery was dead or had too many apps on it. And if you strip it out and just put one app on it, you could use it as a security camera, and then it'll display that security camera on a secure website. And so the app is in this article. Please go to camphacker.tv/podcast. This is episode 162. Look there for our show notes where you can find links to the things that we're talking about, including this article, How to Use an Old Phone as Security Camera. Now we get to even less tangible things with some good advice. Chris.
Okay. So you've heard it a million times. I'm not going to tell you anything new, but maybe you're the kind of person who takes everything I say super seriously. So listen up. Breakfast. Eat it. I cannot stress to you how important it is to eat breakfast and drink water in the morning. Look, I had like a whole medical event that happened with me this winter. And what I learned from it is first of all, how much water your body processes during the middle of the night. Right? It's like 1.5 liters of water that will leave your body. And I think about how many times I wake up and I'm like, meh, and I'll brush my teeth. That's as much water gets in my mouth. I'm out the door and I don't eat lunch till 1. The impact that has on your body is dramatic, and people do it every single day. So you've heard it a billion times before. I'm not going to sell this to you anymore, but I'm just going to say this. Take the time to eat breakfast. Make the time. Wake up 20 minutes. It doesn't matter what it is. Drink some water. have some breakfast, especially at camp. Especially at camp. I can't, in the morning, I never want to go to breakfast. I wake up, there's a million things to do. There's a million things to do before the kids go to activities. I'm like, you know what? I'll pick it up. I'll have a granola bar or something. Next thing you know, it's 12:30, especially at camp. Make sure that you take care of yourself and eat breakfast. There it is. So we'll have a link to breakfast in the show notes.
Yes, we will. This podcaster that I listened to for about a day had this great line that I liked. It's like, you get up in the morning, you give yourself an external shower. You drink water so that you can have an internal shower and wash all that stuff out of you.
I like that.
It's easier on your internal organs. Joe, what's your tool of the week advice today?
My tool of the week is that you should have art in your life, whatever you deem to be art. In my office, I stare at a wall of art, and that's everything from a jigsaw puzzle I did years ago that I, glued together to photos I took many years ago, to a cross stitch that my mother did, right? And it helps me. And to our friend Mark Cooper, there's a piece of his art, and you need to find art that makes you feel good, or make art that makes you feel good. And that can be pictures, it can be design, it can be anything. In the show notes, there's a link to to a website called Saatchi Art. Probably not pronouncing that right. I'm fine with that. But it gives you a great way to see a ton of art, right? You're not going to know what you like because you're looking for things that speak to you, that help you remember, that give you joy, right? And that's what, it's not just about schedules on the wall or, a note from a camper, although those are nice as well, but about something that just serves the function of being there for you. So art is my tool of the week.
Well done. A follow-up to that, Joe, is when your friends make art, buy your friend's art. I don't have a piece of Mark Cooper art because I always thought at some point I'm going to buy a piece of Mark Cooper art, and I never did. So buy it. It's a good, friendly thing to do. Buy your friend's art. All right. So from the sublime to the ridiculous today, intense to toilet humor, the whole span. I thank the three of you for being here and joining me on this discussion. As always, it's such a joy to spend time with you. If folks want to follow up with any of the co-hosts, you can go to camphacker.tv/podcast and find their contact information. If you dig deep enough, you can find Joe's phone number and call him or text him. That is all at camphacker.tv/podcast. So thank you to the three of you. Thank you to the folks who've been watching us on YouTube and folks who listen while they take us on all of the adventures that they have. We're so grateful to be parts of your life. And thanks for the evening, friends.
The Camp Hacker podcast is brought to you by Beth and Travis Allison, summer camp leadership training and marketing consultants. Thanks for listening. Camp Hacker, bringing your world into focus.
Hey Camp Bros, we love that our industry is built on sharing. In order to foster that spirit, we hope that whenever you share an idea that you learned from the Camp Hacker podcast, conference, summer camp professionals group, or wherever else, that you're quick to give credit where credit is due. That way, we can all encourage more Camp Pros to share the tips and tricks that will make camp better.
Hey, it's Travis. Camp directors often tell me they're just too tired to take on anything new. That's exactly why my free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic exists. It doesn't add work, it shows you progress. Quick, free, repeatable, you'll know if your systems are paying off without the guesswork. Try it today at camp.mba/Travis. That's camp.mba/Travis.